I thought it would be a good time to look inside my lunchbox. Yes, it's time for another So for those of you who've been following this series, I've been building a separate kind of outboard based out of the box rig to kind of be an antidote to my life in the box using doors. This is nearly complete. There's just one more item I need to get. But I thought we could look at the various different summing options that I have created within my studio. My in-the-box rig sums out of my NEVE, is it an 8816? And my out-of-the-box rig sums via the Rupert NEVE centerpiece mixing desk. So the first thing I wanted to do was to check out the difference in sound between the Rupert NEVE, which also has this kind of silk setting, and the NEVE 8816.
So this is the 8816 NEVE, a summing mixer with 16 discrete mono input channels, each of which you can send to a headphone feed via these Q buttons. You can both solo and mute with these cut buttons. It has a fader and pan ports. You can insert effects at the mix bus stage. It also has an optional controller, which is an absolute bugger to install and feels like it's been made by a grumpy bloke from Burnley. Look, this one's cut buttons don't even work. Well, if you don't know what buttons you pressed, don't ask my unit to tell you. You fucking southern twat. I don't think that was a Burnley accent. Anyway, the build quality for both is what I'd call fair. Some bits feel like, really good quality. Some bits are a bit more kind of off the shelf and wiggly. Now, the Rupert NEVE centerpiece is a different beast entirely where build quality is concerned. Beautifully engineered, but like the 8816, it feels like something that the maker is trying to prescribe as opposed to have the market describe. So it calls itself a desktop mixer with 24 inputs, but is in fact, for me anyway, it's a 12-track mixer, 12 stereo tracks, and once you switch to mono, it gets a bit complicated because this thing doesn't even have pan pots. Its advocates have told me it's really more of a DAW summing mixer, and I would say that the DAW controls to the right, which I'll never use, support this claim, but the really deep insert functionality for the 4 stereo tracks, the ones with the faders, and the mix bus suggest otherwise. Well, anyway, that's why I bought it, so I could distribute signals throughout my outboard system before summing. Oh, and it has this silk thing. Don't know what it is, but it sounds like something that might be nice for strings. Both of these mixers are very generous with their talk back and monitor input and output options, but they're very different price points, which I'll let you check out independently of this video. But the most important thing to consider when looking at these different units is always factor in the cost of the breakout in and out cables you'll need. There aren't rows of jacks or XLR sockets at the back, and I would say between both of these units, I've spent well over $300 in additional cabling. Okay, so to test these, I thought I'd simply send a busy and dynamic track out of them to see if we could really feel the advantage of outboard finalizing. In future, I'll actually sum some more stuff over more tracks to compare, but first a simple test of how a track sounds going through these things. Spitfire recently released a new brass library, and Paul did an excellent demo that fits the bill for this experiment, so I thank him for sending an unmastered version. First, I wanted to check out what this silk thing was all about. So here's the track running through the centerpiece. I've created full WAVs of the entire track for you to download in the video description below. Each track is piped back into Logic Pro X via the latest Apogee Symphony. I tried to match fader levels and input as close as possible, and then I have normalized each file to -1 dB. So here are the excerpts.
So based on the video, or indeed if you want to download WAVs of the 3 different versions below, I'd like to do a poll. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the digital sound, the sound via the NEVE 8816, or the sound via the Rupert Neve centerpiece? Now the Neve centerpiece has 4 tracks with insert sends. So I wanted to match that functionality with the best of all worlds, a selection of the top EQ and dynamics components. So I thought I could take Paul's track and just run them through these different signal paths to give you an idea of how these Lunchbox units sound, and again to conduct a poll at the end of this. And I think there is a sleeping, surprising giant in there, and his name is MAAG.
So first up, the DBX 560A compressor limiter, which apparently offers a legendary VCA-based compression on the increasingly popular 500 series format. What I love about this unit is its ease of use, just 3 knobs, and it kind of feedbacks to you what it's doing, and what it does, I don't know, it just sounds musical to me. So this is a subtle setting here. Now we're switching to the MAAG. I would say the sleeping giant of this Lunchbox. It's a 6-band equalizer, so basically the bands are set from the kind of high mid down to this amazing sub-bass pot. They're all really musical, but the most exciting aspect of the MAAG is the air, the very, very top end. Let's just have another look at that here. I'm just going to switch this in and out. But basically, the air aspect is a parametric EQ that goes up to 40K. Really silky, quite amazing. Okay, next up, SSL. First, dynamics. A bit daunting at first, but actually very simple to use, and jeepers, can it smash the bejesus out of a track. Possibly not suitable for a track like this. So next up, the SL4000 E-Console EQ. Again, it has quite a rocky sound. Not sure if it's entirely suitable for orchestral. The top end is not something I'd like to apply, certainly not to strings. The bottom end has a kind of subtle quality to it, but again, very kind of straightforward to use. Build quality of these first 4 Lunchbox units, absolutely excellent. And not forgetting that it has a gate module, so this is me adjusting the threshold, which is something I think we can have a bit of fun with Frankensynth. Over to API. This thing is built like a brick something house. The only difficulty is in this upright formation, it is so difficult to use. And it's all very, very musical, I find. But surprisingly for an American piece of kit, it's remarkably subtle. So with the EQ unit, we've got 4 bands of this kind of very famous equalization, but it only goes up to 12 dB of boost or cut. Feels very subtle to me. Whilst it's beautifully made, I'm finding the double knob kind of use, and the proximity of each knob to each other incredibly difficult to use on the fly, and I'm actually struggling to come up with a good sound within the length of Paul's track. Like the bottom end on that too. Okay, so I couldn't get the NEVE compressor to work. This is something at fault with my patch bass, so apologies for that. So this is a 3-band EQ. The top band is a fixed frequency of 12K. Sounds great. And it also, the inner knob is basically a high-pass filter. Again, very, very musical. Just great for providing a little bit of detail. Now these next two are absolute beasts. The bottom knob selects the frequency, the top, the amount of gain. The bottom end is just absolutely phenomenal on this unit. I don't think there's anything in my outboard that sounds like the bottom end on this. And whilst this EQ unit is not designed as a kind of bus mix master, I do think there's something that I'm going to do with this bottom end. Absolutely phenomenal.
So I'd love to hear, you know, based on that, it would have been bad because it's just covered in swan poo, so nose down in swan poo just beneath me here. Anyway, so I thought it'd been fun to do a second poll of this kind of soft mastering bus. Which one did you prefer? Did you prefer the Drama MAAG combination, the SSL, the NEVE, or the APL? Thanks as always for watching. Looking forward to getting my Frankensynth, my Skiff, and my Moog modules through this new system, and there's just this one more thing that I hope is going to arrive this week that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Exciting stuff coming up. If you want to be notified the next time I put a video up, just ding that bell, and I'd love one of them if you've liked it. See you next time. Jesus.